Today we'll be looking at MSQL, Microsoft SQL database. That's what our focus will be on. Now, but we need to just do a quick rundown, do some little explanation, do some talk over it before we go live into what we need to do. Database management system is a software that is used to manage databases, like an interface between the database itself and the end user. Now, the end user can be you and me that log on online to a particular website and you are trying to submit a form, try to post something. Now, the reason why database is very, very important is that you can query it, you can give a command to create, to modify, to update, to delete, to retrieve at any time. Now, databases that they must have that characteristics are very, very important. You must be able to say, okay, I want to create something, I want to save something, modify, update. So all those ones are very, very important for us. Now, there are types of database as well. We have them in they can be in a network arrangement. They can be hierarchical. They can be relational. However, but the one we are looking at, the SQL we are looking at, Microsoft SQL, MSSQL that we are looking at, is actually relational database. And the reason why is there, I'm going to quickly get to it. I will explain it to us. But I just want to give us just a short rundown of why it's very, very important. Now, the query you are giving, that is a form of command. And when we begin to do it, now begin to imagine, how can I ask this database to do this and that for me? No problem. We're going to get there now. We're going to put it up now. So I'm going to open up my SQL, my MSSQL, and from there, I'll take us gradually on what to do. So what we want to do now is that, how do I launch Microsoft SQL on my machine? That's the first thing we want to do now. So what I want you to do, I want you to follow me as I do it, and you'll be able to get there together. Now, for you to bring up your SQL, the first thing you need to do, you go to your search engine. Either you go to your search engine and type your SQL out, SQL, and the system, of course, you will see it from the list of what you have. I'm going to open it up from my side here, and I'll drag it to the screen so that you can all see it. Let the page come up from here. Or, okay, all right, you have something like this loading on your system. So, if you have something like this loading, I want you all to follow it and do it. So now, SQL, the way and manner is designed, it can work in two ways. It can work locally. It can work locally. What I mean by locally, it can work on your system like this when everything is installed. It can connect to another database somewhere else where you did not see it. That's another way. And again, it can work on a network. What I mean by the network is that you can work on LAN. LAN is the intranet setup. Maybe in your office, there's a server somewhere, and SQL is installed there. Microsoft SQL is installed there. You can connect to it locally like that on the LAN, fine. Or on an internet somewhere, you can connect to it and you'll be able to still have access to it. Now, if by the time I have this, what I need to do is here, because I'm connecting on my local system, I just click dot. I just put dot. Dot means it should load from my local system, and I'll click connect. Now, if I need to connect to another server somewhere, there are little settings we need to do. I need to select some other function for me to do that. But this one I'm explaining now, how to connect to your local machine. Then I'll click connect. So then it's going to load out it's going to load out every other information for me like this. Which now from here now we can do every other thing we want to do from here. Now, immediately you have it open like this. What your aim and objective is that you want to set up a database in the MSSQL Server Management Studio. This is the Server Management Studio. It's a studio as well, because inside it you can do a whole lot of things. Now, the first page that loads, they are the default setting, default configuration, and everything. It is used by the machine, used by the server itself. So now, for you to create your own database, what you need to do is to go to this. The first plus there is called database. When you click on it, it's going to give you a drop down. Now, in my own case, I have a whole lot of databases there that I'm using. How do I come about this? That's what we want to do. Now, most time as a developer, when we have work to do, when we have project to do, what we normally do is that we normally have a plan. What do I want to do? How do I want to save my information? What are the information I want to collect? There are layouts. I want to show us example of a layout that I have in the system. So I've sat down and I've said, okay, I want to get some information. Now, this information that I want to get, I need some parameters from some maybe from students or from a particular reason. But that's the reason why I'm building the software. Now, I want to copy out something. So what I want to copy out is what we want to work with today with the database. And by, I'm going to walk us through how we set up a table in the database. I just do a paste of information. Now I'm going to find a way to zoom this so that we can all see it. I make it like 150. If you can all see it like that, I think I'm fine. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? I said I want to create a table in which I want to create a login table that will contain some parameter. Then inside the login table, I want to create another table that will contain student information. So meaning students will be able to log in, and when they log in, they'll be able to fill in their information. And again, I want to create a table that will make students to see their score, student score. That is the table I'm trying to create. Now, the aim of this is that I want to do an application somewhere that will now make use of all this information that I'm creating. Meaning that if I create this, somebody will be able to log in with his own information, which are all this, and the system confirm it, and then you give access to the application. So how do we go about all this inside the SQL? That is the procedure you want to do. That is what we want to do today. All right, so follow me as I go about it. Now, from our SQL that we have opened before, I said we go to the database, the first database, the first plus up there, click on it. Now, when you click on it, on that database table, on that database folder, something that looks like that folder, you right click on it. I right click on it. On that database itself, I right click on it. It will give me a dialog box, and I want to click new database. Follow me as I do it, new database. So I click yes. So a form will come out for me. I need to give my database a name, new database. So the name I want to give my database, I want to call it student score. That's the name I want to give my database. I just type the name. After typing the name, student score. So I just need to click on save. If you are following me, just click on save. Immediately I click on save, the Management Studio will identify that, okay, I've set up a database that is called that name. So you just give it any name you want to give it, and you save it. So I just click save. So it will load and load, it will create my requirement. So under here, you will see my database being created, student database. I have it created. Now that we've been able to create our database, this is where all of our information is going to reside. Now, the beautiful thing about SQL is that there are roles and there are rules. roles and rules. I'm not going to bother us about which role or rules. I'm just using the default function in it. Because the way it is structured, all these databases that you are seeing, if you don't have any business there, there are roles that will be attached to them. If you are not allowed to open them, you'll not be able to open it. But being that we are using the default setting, the one you created, student score, I've expanded. Just click to expand that one that you created, student score. Now, inside it now, you will now see the first line, database diagram, and you see another one, database table, and every other information. Now, in further study, we will show us how these relate to themselves. But I'm going to just reduce myself to the scope of what we are doing. Now, database. So inside it now, what you need to do is to click on that table. Because all those things that are displayed to us, they are actually table. They are table inside the database. The way Amana is structured is this. You can have one database with so many tables inside. So many tables. As much as it can take as much as possible. So we create a database, give it a name, and we now begin to create a table inside. So by the time we want to call the table in our program, or developer want to call the table, he calls the name of the table and begin to call the table inside it. So the first table we want to create is called login table. So we are going to create our tables one by one. Now, if I click on that table menu, I just click on the plus under it to expand it. This is where I'm going to put all my tables one by one. So now, follow me as I do the example, and you see how we create the table. Now, I'm going to be using a split screen. So I'm going to split my screen into two, so that I'll make one small and one big, so that you will be able to follow through with what I want to do. So I just try to divide my screen now. This is made possible with Windows 11. If you're not using Windows 11, try and get yourself dated. Now, what I want to do is that I have 1, 2, 3 tables. Now, the first table I'm creating is called login TBL. That is login table. Now, I copy the name, and I come here. After expanding the table inside here, I'll right-click again. I click on new. So the new will show new table. I'm creating a new table. I said okay. So it's going to give me where I can put my table. So I have some parameters there. If you look at it, on my table there, I have user ID, name, I have username, I have password, status row. So now I want to set up all this. Now, in setting up these, there are some characteristics that we are going to follow. Now, you have to note that user ID is like what I have in mind to take there is numbers. So I can say my parameter. Now, this is what the system is going to use to take in the format of that thing that you want to enter. Now, I want to use user ID to take in numbers. So if you look at all these form of the data entry, there are so many there, but we are going to be using few of them. We will not use all of them. We use few of them. In fact, in my whole years of development, I've only used few of these. I've never used all of them. But if you can use virtually a lot, no problem. So now, because it's my user ID, because of that ID, I'm going to call that one integer. It's an ID, integer. And I will ask you to take allow none. No. That place, you must put something in there. That's the essence of this checking. I'll check it. You must put something there. Now, the following one is name. I just type name. Now, name is character. So I'm going to make it non-vaca, NV, non-vaca 50. Now, the 50 there means that the character in that name will not be more than 50. Some people's name may be as long as possible. In fact, we have maximum there. Or you can choose to make it 100. Somebody's name cannot be as long as 100. It's not possible. But peradventure, we have. That's his name. Then, this one, you can allow none. I check it. You can allow none. Now, again, I come in here. I'm filling all those parameters bit by bit. I have username. I just fill username. Okay, let me correct this. Username. So my username, I want it to be non-vaca as well. I always use non-vaca very, very well. I have my password. My password. Password are always in a way, we have to encrypt it, sort of. So encrypt, fine. I still want to use non-vaca there. It can be any other function. Now I have status. I make it this. So that is how I'm going to create my information the way I want it. I hope this is a little bit clear. So we have operational status. So under operational status, maybe I want to use it for something. Now, this I have planned what I want to do. That is how I was able to get all this information. Most time in development, planning comes in. It is in planning that you will know the characters that you want to use. Email, I'm going to use the same thing. Now, insert date. Insert date now will now be date. We have date information there. Now, the non-vaca can take either numeric or alphanumeric or whichever word you want to take it. Non-vaca can take it. So I can now say, okay, my password, maybe I want to reduce passwords to 20. I want to say maybe I want to, okay, status, my status shouldn't be more than 10. My password should be 20. My username, I don't know, maybe 20 as well. My role, operating status, email. Now, all these, I've created them. The other thing that are very important is this. You see, this username, this user ID, I need to make it a primary key. Also, tell the system that this user key, I want it to be increasing by itself. So that I will not be the one that will be typing it. I want to make it unique. So what I do now is that now I'm going to right click. I'm going to right click at the back. I'm going to right click at the back of the user ID. Right click at the back of the user ID. I will set this as my primary key. It's very important. Setting primary key is very, very important. I said, okay. You see, there's something like key has come up, meaning that that line is the primary key. Now, again, I'll highlight it like this, and I'll now go and tell the system that since it's an ID, I want to be SQL to be increasing it by itself. It's very, very important to make it unique. I've highlighted it. I'll scroll down under here. I'll move down to where I will see identity specification. I'll click on it. I'll expand it. Now, it's telling me under identity specification, it's saying that you see is no. I'll first of all make it yes. When I make it yes, the increment and seed, I'll make it 1, 1. Those one will be auto. Immediately I double click at the back here. It does that for me automatically. Just double click. It will make it so it will start from 1. It will seed from 1 and it will be increasing by 1, 1, 1. That will be auto. So when I've done all this, I've filled all my information. I've put all the variables that I want it to be. I've made this the primary key, and I've also make it. Now, I'm able to make this the primary key because I uncheck this. Most times, always the first one. I can only have one primary key in a particular table. Now, after I've done all this, what follows is I'm going to save this table. I click on the save button. So immediately save button will bring me the name, where I'm going to fill in the name. So I said, okay, the name that I call it here, login TBL. I'm going to type it here, login TBL, and I said, okay. Immediately I said, okay, my SQL Studio will just load it and it'll be here. Now, what I need to do here is for me to just refresh. I want to refresh my table inside my database. I click on the table, I'll come and click refresh sign up here. There's a refresh sign up here. If I click it, it will refresh for me. And after the refreshing, I'm going to see the table under here. I just create one table. And if I want to view it, if I want to view the table, I'm going to show us how to view. But with this, we just finished creating the table. To view your table is very easy. From your database that you've created, if I click on plus, the plus behind to expand my database, then I scroll down, I locate the table in the table file, I expand it, then I can go to my table. Now, I can also expand my table. It has the plus. If I expand it, I'm going to see column, key, every other thing that are there. If I open up the column, I'm going to see all the parameters that I've set up initially. I'm going to see it. Yes, they are all there. But this is just for you to view. To open up the table, let me close back. Let me close it back. So after you've seen every other thing, now you can close back the expansion. Now on the table that you created, click on the table, right click, just click and right click on it. After right clicking, you will see some information displaying. You can go back to design. Design is what you are seeing here. What we use to design the table. Now you can see select top 1000 row. What you need to do is to click on edit top 200 rows. Either of the two will work, but this is better. Edit top 200 rows. So with edit top 200 rows, you can see your tables like this. It will give you as in table format exactly. So it's telling you that it's ready to take in information. And this is where your information will be filling gradually as everything grows. Now, you see the user ID. It is graded out, sort of. Graded out. Graded out because we have given the system the permission to own that part of our record. Because we've asked it to be the primary key, and we've told the system to increase it by itself. So you cannot put anything here. It is the system that will be doing that. But every other part, you can do it. Now, we just create a table, and we've opened the table. Now, for the sake of better understanding, I'm not going to go over it again, because we have about 3 tables to be created here, about 3 tables. So I'm going to create the second table, student information. So I'm going to use the same method. I'm going to create that all over again for us to see. So in creating this, it's still the same method. So what I need to do first is that I'll go back to my database. From database, I'll locate my table. On my table, I'll right click on the tables because I want to create new table. So I'll go to new table and I'll set table. I'll click on table. Then I'm going to have the design form again. So one by one, I'm going to fill in all the parameters that I'm supposed to fill in here. So I will take time to fill it. After the filling, then we will continue. So this is an int, it's an ID, so it's an int. I'll make it an int. Just type NIT, make it an int. We have so many parameters there. I just make it an int, and let me collapse this a little bit so we can see every other part. Now, allow none. Yes, I'm going to uncheck it because it's an ID. I want the system to hold it and to increase it by itself because that's going to be our primary key. So I just did that. So then, the following one I'm going to do is the user ID. This user ID at this point is an ID, but here it's going to be like a foreign key, like a foreign key here. So I'm pasting it here. A foreign key, but it's a user ID. I'm going to use as a foreign key to do some connection. Again, I want it to be an integer. I'll type int, I-N-T, int. Yes. Then it's not going to be, I'm going to leave this one. Of course, there will be variable there. So I can check it, I can uncheck it, depends on whatever I want. But let me leave it. So now, gradually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to complete every other table, every other procedure, bit by bit. So follow me as I complete it. So after I've filled all my table information, I'll fill all of them here. The next thing for me is to save this table. How do we save? You save by, if you look at my information here, I said my table name is student info. So that is my table name. So I'm going to click on save button here. I click on save button here. After copy my table name, the name I want to give my table. So I'll come and click on save button. So there will be a dialog box and I will now save. But before I save, there's something I've not done. I need to make my student ID, make it a primary key. It's very important, primary key. So I click on it, I'll right click now. I'll right click, I'll set it as primary key. I just set that. Now, my user ID, even though it's an ID, just leave it alone. I said it's like a foreign key or a secondary key in that place, just leave it alone. Now, after I've done this now, I will now set it to auto increase. Look at this again. Auto increase. I've made the primary key. I have to set the auto increase. How do I set the auto increase? I will click on it. Look at this. I'll click on it. I will go down to the information table that I have under here. I will scroll to where I will see identity specification. You can see it's no here. I will check on it. And I will now double click at the edge here. Edge, I'll just double click. If I double click, it will change this to yes, 1. That is it. I'll make the seed and I'll align the increment. So at this point now, I can save. I'll click on save. I'll give it the name. What name? I'm going to give my table student info. Then I'll save it, no space. I'll save it. So I've just saved my table. So what I need to do is to come to this side of the studio. I'll refresh the old database and I'll have my student info. So this is my student info at this point. Okay. Even if you want to view this, you can also view it. So with this now, I just saved my table. But I just discovered that I have an error. Instead of me typing country, there's an ED at the back of the country. If I go and check my table here, I'm going to see the ED at the back of the country. That is wrong. That's an error. It should be country. So I'm supposed to remove this ED away. Now look at the way I'm changing the error. So what I need to do is that I close out of this. I go back to my design. How do I get there? Let me close the design. Let me reopen design for us to see. So I go to the table that I want to edit the error. I right click there. You can see my design, the second one on top here. I click on design. So it will open up this for me again. So I can say, okay, country, let me remove the ED away. After I remove the ED, then I can go back and click save. In a case in which it's preventing you from saving your updates, what you need to do is that you go to this place called tools. I'll click on tools. On top there's something called tools there. On that tool, I'll scroll down to where I have options. Inside the options, I will navigate to where I see design. This is design. I'll navigate to where I'm going to see design, and I'll click on it. Now, on design, I need to uncheck this. It's saying prevent saving change that require the table to be recreated. So I need to uncheck it, and I said okay. So at this point now, if I make any changes to my table and I want to resave, of course I'll be able to resave since I've removed that function. So just follow the same process in the case in which it holds you from saving. I've removed the function from my system and I've shown you how to remove it as well, so you'll be able to save. So with this now, we've created 2 tables out of our 3 tables. We have student login table, we've done login table. We have student info, we've done student info. So the last one is a student score, which I want us to just do. I'm going to show us how to do this. I'm going to do it very fast. Then I'll move on to the next one. So student score, this is how you do it. Okay, let me just do it. Now that I fill everything for the 3rd table, what I need to do is 3 things. Very, very important. I fill all the table field, the field of the table that I want. Then the first thing to do is I have to make this the primary key. Primary key. I've done the primary key. The second to do is to set up the auto increment. While still highlighting this, I will go to the description underneath. I will check on the identity specification. Then I'll click on it. Then I'm going to double click here. Under it, on the second, just double click on the second, immediately on the second line. So to turn it to yes, yes, 1, 1. I've set the increment. Then the 3rd one is to now save. I'll come to the save button here. Then I'll fill in the name that I want the table to be called without any space. If I want to put a space, now I'm going to put underscore. We don't use hyphen. Hyphen is wrong. What we use is underscore, or you don't put space at all. So it is even ideal, don't put space at all. Just make it one word. That's fine. And you click OK. By that, I'll just finish saving this table. So what I need to do is now is that I'll come to my table here. At my table here, I will refresh the whole tables. So I'm going to have my login table, student score, and student info. I have my 3 table as listed here. Now, I want us to now look at something that are very important now. This table that I've saved now, there are a whole lot of things you can do with it that makes, of course, this database is far more than Excel. You can see that if I want to script this table alone, this my data, my login, I want to script it. Script. Meaning that maybe I want to copy it for somebody else. I want to copy it for somebody to run on his own. What I'm going to do is I will come to that table. I will come to it, see what I'm doing. I click on it. I will right click. After right clicking, if you look at all I have here, there is one that called script table. Script table. Now, script table will open some things for me. We open script to drop and create, select, and what I want to pick is script to the first one. Create to. Now when I go to that create to, and I can say, okay, create this to a new query editor window. I'll say yes. And if I click on it, the system will roll. It will script that table for me. And the scripted table can be copied. I put it on Notepad, I save it, I send it to anybody that want to run the table. So system will gather all the requirements and the table will be saved. All right, now that I've run the script, I've been able to script my table. So it is very easy. If I copy this now, I copy it, and I save it on a Notepad. If I send it to anybody, the person can run it on his system and you'll be able to have the same table. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring a sample copy of this from somewhere. I will show you how to run the script inside your database. I'm going to show you an example now. Let me go and copy the sample that I have. Okay, so I've copied the code that I want to copy. It's not this one. This was the one that I have here before. I want to close out of this. Now, I now want to explain what happened if you want to paste the code. Now, pasting the code is very simple, but in running it into your database is very critical. Now, you need to know what you want to do. If you are giving an SQL a command, or else you'll not be able to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, this is the code. I have it beside here. But let me just tell you, we are talking about student info, we talk about student login, student info, student score. We didn't talk about student class. That student that you want to give a score to is in what class? Is in a particular class. So now there is a table called student class, but we didn't have the detail of that table. So the table was sent to us in form of script. This is the script now of that table. Now, how do I run that script inside my existing table? So this is what you will do. This is my database, student score, database, student score. And I have table inside it. I want to plug in, I want to run that script on that table so that I can create a new table for me called student class. What you do is that you will click on your main database, you click on it. After clicking on your database, then you go up here. There's something called new query. I hope you are seeing this. New query. You click on the new query. The new query will load. I first of all click on my table, database, then I click on the new query so that up here, it can inherit my table. And even if you didn't see your table, you can still bring up your table here. But since I've clicked my table before clicking new query, it will inherit my table. So what I need to do is that I'm going to paste the script that I have. I paste it inside that new query. This is the script that I have. I just did pasting now. Now, I need to explain something for us. If any query you have, you must at least be able to read something on the query. Read something. Now, the query said, use this table, student. My own table is not student. My own database is not student. My own table, my database, student underscore score. So it's different from this. They are not the same thing. So if I run this now, this will run, but my table, my database name is wrong. So what I need to do is that I need to delete this database name away. Delete it away. Because it's different from my own database name. So after I've deleted that, I now have all this left. So I have the student, the table I want to create and everything. So since I've deleted the database name, and I have this database selected here, I'm still fine. So everything being equal, what I need to do is to click this button called execute, and to execute this. So I'm going to click on execute now, and let's see what will happen. I just click on it. So the system will run, and it will tell me command completed successfully. So what I need to do now is that I will come back to my database here. I'll click on it again. I will refresh it. In refreshing, it will just refresh database altogether. And if I go to my table, I should see that student class in my list of table now, because I just run the script. So what I did now was I run a particular script. So now we've been able to create table one by one, and be able to run script one by one. If you have many tables sent to you, this is how you create them one by one on your data table. Now, what next is, how do I script my complete database? What I showed to you before was scripting table. Now, I want to script my database all together. And I want to script it together with all the tables inside and parameters that are recorded inside. I want to script everything. How do we script database? That's the next thing we want to do now. So, let's go. So, to script the whole database now, it is in step. So I will just follow the step now, by and by. Now look at this. I'm not going to touch any of the tables. What I'm going to do is that I will come to the database itself, database name itself. I will right click on database name. When I right click, it will show me so many information. Now you can see something called script database as. The same way we did that one, see database as. You can script it as this, no problem. This problem will give us exactly what we have before. What we have before that we used for the table. So if I go to script database, this and this, it will script it. This one is fine, but I don't always use this one. So I'll show you the one I always use, that I want you to be using. That one is much more than this. So you can use this method, but please use it when you are in an hurry. The better one to use is that you come to the next line, task. This is the better one. You come to the next line, task. Now, inside the task, you will now come and see the whole lot of things here. How to do backup, I'm going to show you this. How to do restore, I'm going to show you this. The whole lot of things I'm going to show you. But where we are going is generate scripts. That's where we are going. Generate scripts. Under task, you pick generate scripts. So if I click on generate scripts, it's going to load a form for me. On this form now, I will say next. I'll say next. I'll next it. So it will load some prerequisites, load something. Now, this format, you can use it to script both the database and what is inside the database. If you have information, you have record, you have details of database. So what you do next, when the page has loaded, it asks you to select script entire database and all this and that, fine. Or you can select specific table. What you normally do, click on this one so I can show you more thing. I can click on this. Then I said, okay, if I open up this table, I can see all my table one by one. I can use this method to script one table, two table alone, three table alone. Any table you want, you can use this method to script them one by one. I can say I'm scripting this table alone. Fine. But I'm going to script all of them. I want all of them. I want all of them. So this one says script entire database and all this and this inside. So if you pick on this, it's fine. If you tick on this, make sure you come here and select all. So it selects all for you. So just know what you are picking, what you are selecting. Then I'll come here and say next. Now, here, it's telling me, should I save it as a notebook? That is one. Should I save it as a script? That is two. Should I save it as I should save it on a clipboard or on a new query? I always like to use either this or I use this. That's what I like to use, either of the two. But for the sake of what we are doing now, if you click this one, it will save it as a one file that we put a name. Subsequently, we use this method. But for this one we are doing, click on this one. Open in a new query. Save it like this, in a new query. And we click next. Now, before you click your next, there's something called advanced here. Advanced here. So if I click on this advanced, there are something you need to do here on this advanced, which is very, very important. The reason why this one is very best is this. Now, if I am using 2029 SQL and you are using 2012, I can script my own down to you for you to be able to run. Because if I script it anyhow, I give it to you, not be able to run on your system. So I can script it down or I script it up, whichever one. So now, if I scroll down, there's somewhere called script, drop, and create. So I can do something here. I can say, okay, I just click the drop down. I can script this thing to go and create. Maybe the other party doesn't have that table at all. I can go and create it there. If the other party has it, but I want it to drop, delete what it has, and create this one my own, I'll pick on drop and create. That's what I'm going to click, drop and create. But that depends on whatever function. So I click on create. Now I can select the year that I want to script it to. I can do all this year, 2019. Since we are all using 2019, so just leave it at 2019. I can take it back to 2012, to anything. We are all using 2019. Just leave it as 2019. That is fine. Now, the third thing you need to do is that it will ask you, do you want to script the schema only? Schema only or with data? Which is what this one means is that by the time you begin to save something inside your database, you begin to have record inside. You have to be able to script with the data. Script the schema and the data, meaning script it with the record inside. If you script it with schema alone, I will not have what you have inside the data, I will not see it. But if you script it with data, it will save everything together. So script and with data is the best if you have record inside. So I've picked the three things that I want you to pick. The first one is script and create. The second one is the year. And the third one, schema and data. Those are the three things you do in the advanced. Other one, just leave it. That's the three things you need. And I click OK. After the OK, I've checked on this already. I've checked on open new query already. All I'll do next is also click next. System will ask me, this is what you asked me to do. Should I go ahead? I'll say next, go ahead. Then it will now begin to run and generate my database for me. It will generate it with everything that is inside. And I will say, when he has done checking everything, I will say finish. By finish, I'm going to have my table like this. So you see, I have the table name, this table name. I have the first table that has to create is here. If I scroll down, I have the second table, that's the student class. I have that one is here. If I scroll down, I have another table, student score, I have it. So I've asked the system to create all the tables for me together with all the prerequisites. I have the student info, everything together. And if I have information inside, it will script the information, I will see it. Because I pick schema and so with this now, if you want now to, so what you need to do is that you will now Control A, you highlight all, Control A, we highlight all for you, and Control C, we copy it. Control A, Control C. Then you open up a notepad, save it as a notepad, save it a name, and send it to me. That is then I can run it and see that you have done a good job. Now, after I've done my scripting, the next thing I want to move us to is that how do we do views? How do you merge tables together? How do you do views? Now, if you look at from my table structure here, I have user ID. Now, this user ID again, I have it inside here as user ID. Now, inside the student score, I have student ID, which is the student ID here. This means something. Now, it means that you can join tables together to make another one table with those IDs and primary key. Now, with the help of primary key and the secondary keys, you can merge tables together. Now, let's see that. Now, what we do before, we've worked with tables, and we have all our tables listed. Now, if I close this table plus, I close the plus now, and I open the next one, which is called views. Now, look at this one. Just look at this one very well. I open this is views. If I open up the view, I have nothing inside. Now, I want to create views. Views are always used for reporting. You can have many tables, but how you want your report to look like, you create inside your view from your tables. This is, in a way, and doing that, we are analyzing our tables to get something that will make us get reports. If you are going to do data analysis, you need to know how to create views very well. Views are very, very important. Now, I will come to view, I will right click on view. It will tell me new views. I'll click on new view. It will show something for me. Now, from what it showed for me, I'm going to have something that looks like this and the form behind. Now, what I want to do first is that I want to merge login table that has student ID together with the student info that have user ID. I want to merge the two tables together to make one with the help of the primary key and the secondary key. Now watch what I do. When I click my view, this dialog box will come up. It's telling me what do I need. I need the login table, I double click on it, and I need the student info, I double click on it. The two will show behind. I'll just close this. These are the two I need for now. Now, by seeing this, the system will have quickly joined the name together, telling you that, I can see primary key here, and I can see secondary key here. It will just join them together for you by default. In a case in which I don't want to use this, I can delete it and create the one I want. How do I mean? System has done this for me. This is correct. Yes, this is what I want to join. But in the case in which you want to join something different, I can come in between here, I'll right click, I'll remove. I don't want that joining. Let me create my journey myself. So my journey will be, I will come to this primary key, I will click on the primary key, I click on primary key, I will now drag the primary key, I'm dragging it, drag it to the secondary key that I want it. It must be the same name. It must be the same. I can't drag student ID to student name, it will not work. Or to phone number, it will not work. It must be that same name on the second table. It must be the same name. And they must be integer, the same name. So with this now, I've joined the two keys together, and I have the query down here telling me that I'm joining this key together. Now, join this key together, I don't want to join everything. I want to join, what I need here is step by step. Now see what I'm doing. I need the ID here. I'll come here, I need the student ID. I'm joining, see that I'm joining two tables. I'll come here, I need the name. I don't need username, I don't need password. I will come here, I need the student name, I need the parent's name, I need the phone number, I need the address, I need city. I'll come back here, I'll need the status, and I need the email. Email is not here. Now, and I need, now, the another thing is that you must not click the same thing. Like I click, if I have insert date here, I have to pick one. If I pick two insert date, system will be telling me it has seen two things. What will it do with it? So I'm picking something different. Now, I'll pick emails, I'll come here, I'll pick country, blood, date of birth. And I'll now say, create date. You see, I'm picking from, because I'm picking for several tables. Now, I don't want to show user, maybe I need username. But I don't need password, and I don't need role. I don't need this one here. These ones are for logins. So with this now, I've been able to merge two tables together. Now, I will now say, you can see the script down here. He would have written many things here. If I scroll this, you see what he has done. He has created so many things for us here. I will now say, save. He will tell me which name did I want to give my table. I will call it view underscore something. Underscore is there, view underscore. I will now call it student. Okay, this is login detail. This is student info. I will now call it student details. So that's the name I'm calling, student with else details. So I match two tables together. I call it what? Student details. I will say save. The minute I save it, the table is saved already. So if I come to my view, that's in my view, and I refresh my view, I'm going to see that table there. Student detail. If I right click on it and I select top 200, I will see the table like a normal table. Like a normal table. Even if I want to view it like this, let me view it in select top 1000 row. It will show me everything I've selected, like a normal table. Like a normal table. And it will show me the table formats under here. So I just did a view of merging two tables together. So likewise, if I want to merge this student info here that has student ID together with student score that has student ID, I can merge the two together to make one. So all these views are made for reporting. So somebody will now be saying, but I saw you using student view. I didn't see it inside your table. They are not inside table. Table, you not see inside table. Table will still remain table. But view, I now have view. So I'm going to go over it again. Let me show you how I do it by merging student info and student score together. I'm going to merge the two together now. So let me show you that once more. So let me collapse this. I'll go to view, and I click on view. I said new view. So the new view, you see the form like this, it will come out. So I'm merging student info. I'll double click on it. If I double click on it, it will show down there student info. And again, I'm merging it with student score. So, and I said, okay. Now you can see I have the two student ID here connecting to student score. Perfect. That's what I want. I don't want to delete anything. That's what I want. So I'll just like maximize here, maximize here. Let me see everything that I want. So now I begin to pick what I want. I want the student name. Okay. I want the okay. Let me start with student use. I want this ID. I want this one. I want to start with student ID. Then I'll pick this one. And I come and pick the score ID. I want all those ID. I just need them. Then I can now pick student name. I don't need parent name now because this one is talking about student score. I don't need name. I need the student ID. I picked student ID already. I need the, what again do I have here? I don't need the phone number under student score. I don't need it. What I just need is the student score. Now, if I pick, I told you I have picked student ID here. If I come here to pick student ID again, the system will complain. Let me show you let me show you what will happen. Let me scroll down here. You can see what we have here. It's telling you that I have student ID before. So this one, do I want to change the name? So immediately you are creating your view and you are seeing something something like this. Just know that you have done one error. You have matched some name in two places. Of course, we use it. I can change that name to something else. So what I need to do is that come here, I will uncheck one. If I uncheck one, that one will go. You can see it has gone. It's not more there again. So I'll pick the score and I'll pick the insert date. So I've been able to do student score now. If I scroll this one down, I'm able to do. If I click on new, if I click on this, and there's a way I can view this here. It will show my table for me. So I have merged the two tables. So what I need to do next is that I want to save this my table. Okay, what I'm looking for should be inside here. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. If I click on this, it's going to run that query for me. It's going to show me what I have. This table I have. I click on the small arrow here, and I click on this execute SQL. So it shows me the table. So I have all this. Now let me save it. So I can save this one as view underscore student score. So with this, I've been able to merge views together, which is fine. So if I come here and I do a refresh, I'm going to see the two view. Very fine. So if I want to script my table now, let me show us. If I want to script my table now, if I want to script my table, I've done table scripting for us. So I want to script my table and I click on this. You know I have table, I have view. If I click on this now, you see what I'm going to have. If I go to the task and I go to generate script, if I say, okay, I say next, I'm going to see both the table. You see now, I now have views there. This view was not there before. If I open up this, I can see my table, I can see my view like this. By the time we had stop procedure to it, you'll be able to view stop procedure. So if you are scripting table, script everything for me. Everything. Fine. I'm going to close it. I'm not scripting this. So now, with this now, which is the final thing I'm doing, I will now need to add to that our assignment. So what am I adding to it? I'm adding the last leg to our assignment. So this is the last leg. So our assignment will now have this last leg. Asks us to create all this view. The view that contains student class, class subject, and student mark. You now ask me, what are the parameters? When you look at your table, This one merge student class together. So that means you have to merge student and class together, somehow. So if you look at student class, I have student ID there. One table must carry student ID. Student ID is here. So that means I want to match student list and student ID here to give me view student class as I have it down there. So you should be able to think around and get what I'm trying to say. So student class. This one says student subject. If I go to student subject, I have the student subject here, but I have another view under it, the secondary key. This one talks about the subject. So I have to go and look for which one is the subject ID. Subject ID. You look for subject. There should be subject somewhere. There's a class that carries subject. Okay, if not this, sorry, class. Class ID, because I talk about class. Let me see, I talk about class. What am I doing? Okay, class subject. So we can merge class ID. This is class ID. You can merge this class ID, this table, two table here. So you will see the primary key and secondary key. This secondary key is the primary key somewhere. Go and look for it and merge the key together. This is our assignment. So we are creating tables and we are doing views. This is our assignment, which I want all of us to do. It's very simple. So with all this that we have seen today, that we've been able to put together, we should be able to create a database. We should be able to set our table inside. We should be able to create our views. We should be able to script our database. We should be able to do then create ours as we want it. So with all this, it's very simple for us to set up and very easy to do. So I'm going to be rounding up here. Thank you so much. My name still remains Adeleke Samuel. Thank you so much.